Hi and welcome. So today I want to share with you the layers you need to move through in order to resolve your emotional eating. So if you're new here, welcome. My name is Michelle. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist and emotional eating expert. And I wanted to talk about emotional eating in layers because when I work with clients, this issue is multi-layered. And as I reflect back on my own journey with emotional eating, it wasn't as surface level as I thought. It wasn't just simply about controlling my food. It wasn't just simply about, controlling my body. There was so much more under the surface. But what we're sold to in society is that we just need to control something on the surface, and that is going to lead to us changing and becoming what we desire. And so emotional eating is multi-layered. Yes, what we see is on the surface. It's almost like if you had an orange and all you see is sort of the outside of the orange, the skin, the top layer. But what created that orange? There was a seed that needed to be planted and a tree grew, and then the fruit came out of that. And so there are so many deeper layers the same way with emotional eating. And so when we're looking at the surface and we feel like we're out of control with food, we can't control ourselves, we're trying the latest diet, we're trying the latest, restrictive diet and calorie in, calorie out. We are trying everything in our power. We're going to surgeries. We are taking pills. We are doing all the things, and we're using our limited willpower to help us do that. And so willpower is an amazing thing. It helps us get started on something, but it doesn't sustain us through a journey. And especially something like emotional eating that is multi-layered. It's not as simple as learning something for the first time and deciding to eat differently, to move differently, because we're adding this on top of a lot of layers that have created this pattern. And I always say this, emotional eating is a coping mechanism. It's something that was created from, childhood, and it's been there for a really long time. And then on top of it, we layer on other patterns as well. And so I'm going to share with you what I typically see. So on the surface of emotional eating, we see that we're out of control with food, or we feel out of control with our body. We feel like we can't stop ourselves from eating. We're binging all the time. We just feel like crap about ourselves, that we have no self-control. We have no way of nourishing ourselves. And then we're trying to really control our food and our body. And, when that urge comes up to emotionally eat, we try to push it away and we try to really willpower our way through it. We want to be stronger than it. We want to control it. We're going to do this. We're very willful. And so when you are battling yourself, you cannot win because part of you loses. It doesn't add up. It's like if 50% of you wins and 50% of you loses, you lose. And so we need to work with this pattern in a more profound way. And so we need to start looking at all of the years and decades of willpowering and doing things a certain way and it not working. And so, it's important to nourish your body, it's important to move your body, and it's important to move through the emotions that are creating the emotional eating pattern, but we need to do this in a certain way. And so the way that I work with clients and the way that I created through my own journey and that worked for me was that I experienced everything that I was doing. And, I started off really small, but as I went through the layers, what kept me motivated was not my willpower. It was a sense of feeling resolution and feeling good and like I had found what was missing for so long. And so everything that I share with clients supports them on their journey. The bigger piece is this emotional eating coping mechanism, which are the emotions under the pattern. But we also need to learn how to nourish ourselves and learn about our body, because if we resolve that and then we're sort of left out in the dark, we never really learned how to take care of our bodies. We never really learned how to nourish ourselves. And so all of the things we've been learning from society, like the diets and the pushing at the gym and the calorie counting and the restriction, they don't help us either, because they're actually putting more stress on us. They are triggering sort of this stress response in us, imbalancing our mood, which then triggers our emotional eating. So we're in this sort of tailspin. And so the layers we need to really look at and work through is to start transforming the way we look at food and nourishment. We have this really old mentality in society that we need to restrict. We have a very old model of calories in versus calories out. We don't take into account psychologically, if we restrict ourselves from certain foods, that we get pulled into them. And so that doesn't mean forever we have to eat foods that are not nourishing to us, but it means that when we're starting off on this journey, we're more gentle with ourselves. We just don't go cold turkey, because that sort of, let's say, addiction to certain foods or soothing with foods, that's how we know how to cope. And so until we resolve that, we're always going to want to go to those foods. If we pull them away too fast from ourselves, then we're actually going to want to eat them more. And if we don't learn how to nourish ourselves, we're going to be put back into a binging cycle because we've been restricting our bodies. And so our biology, our body is going to want us to eat because we have been starving it. And so we also need to discern true from emotional hunger. And so that's the first layer. Is it the full solution? No, we need to use this as a gateway. The second layer is really tuning into our body. Again, what are the rhythms of our body? What is our energy levels? If we treat our body a certain way, how does it respond? It doesn't mean you're pushing yourself to your limit. You are going for hours and days without truly nourishing your body in terms of rest, taking breaks, sort of having proper movement. These are all important. Or you're not going for a long time and pushing past your limits and punishing yourself at the gym if you overate. All of these things need to be taken into account, because when we're imbalanced in these areas, it creates stress again. And this imbalances our mood and then puts us into emotional eating. And so we're creating the pattern in that way. This alone is not the solution. So if you rest enough, it's not going to fully take away your emotional eating. It's going to take away a trigger if you have been, not sleeping enough. That creates stress, hormonal imbalance, mood interruptions, and that's going to lead to more and more emotional eating, even just cravings for food in general. And so the third layer, which is the deepest layer, is really looking at the pattern creating your emotional eating. So what are the emotions, the unresolved events creating this pattern? And this is the deepest work that we do. And this is the hardest work I find for a lot of clients, because we're not taught to turn towards ourselves. We want to blame something outside of us. And yes, our society is not set up to show us how to nourish ourselves or be with our emotions or take care of our bodies, and our parents didn't do that for us, and it just goes on and on. But now we have awareness, and we have to turn towards ourselves, because no one's going to come and do it for us. Even when I'm working with clients, I'm not there to fix them. I'm there to guide them into coming back to themselves. There's nothing that I'm going to give to you that is going to heal you. You have to be committed and open and willing to do the work. And it means that you're ready to not just think there's a magic bullet or a quick fix. And so the emotional work is really important. And what I see with a lot of clients is that it's really hard for them to turn towards their emotions, because they feel like mentally they get it. Yes, I should forgive this person. I should do this. I'm tougher than that. I've been through so much, and they have all of these sort of mental excuses. But emotions are in the body, and when we don't feel them, or we're never taught to feel them or modeled to move through them, or that feeling was okay, and in our society it's not okay. We want to have a smile on our face. We want to appear pleasant. It's hard to express your emotions and be vulnerable in public. Someone is going to look at you a certain way. Someone is going to say something to you because we've been so conditioned to think that emotions are bad. And the thing is that they only become this explosive thing when we aren't taught how to really be with them and what they are about, that they're giving us information. And so we never learn where is a safe place to express, who can we be with, how can we really move through this. And so that creates a trauma. And then if it's when we're young and our parents are sort of doing that, we sort of hold in that unexpressed emotion. And it keeps getting re-triggered, and we have to figure out ways to cope. And that could be through food, because if you're here, you're an emotional eater, it's through food, and other ways where you don't have boundaries, or you put others before yourself, or you shrink. There's so many things, and that also can trigger the emotional eating pattern. And so that's the deepest layer. And that's where you need to have a lot of understanding for yourself and compassion for yourself of this, how this pattern was created, and to really genuinely want to meet your true needs. Because the more and more you just think about your pattern, and I went through this, and don't really feel into it, of course, by being able to really be there for yourself, the more you're going to be taken over by it, because you're dismissing that part of you again and again, and that just makes it grow bigger and bigger. It's like if you ignore a child, it'll have a bigger and bigger tantrum, or it will go deeper and deeper into a depressive state. So they're both extremes, but they're not balanced in terms of expressing emotion. And so this is the deeper work. And once we're able to really, get into the deep roots of the pattern, it's almost like so much easier to implement the way you nourish yourself and the way you treat your body. It becomes so much clearer. But we're also using those as steps to get into this deeper spot. So everything is sort of happening at the same time. You're learning it more linearly, but everything is sort of happening. Life is happening in this sort of pattern. And so when you're able to move through these layers, then you start becoming more and more whole. You start really seeing how this pattern is not just about measuring or restricting your food or, kind of wanting your body to look a certain way. It goes deeper because your emotions are giving you information about you, your life, and where you might need to shift or change or resolve something so that you feel good and you're no longer using food to cope. And so when you do this, automatically you just start feeling good around food and in your body, and you have more ease and confidence and flow. And this is important to acknowledge. So if you've been trying sort of the surface solutions or even have gone extreme with surgeries, you need to go deeper. And it's not really talked about. But once you get to those deeper layers, you start realizing that food doesn't have to have this hold over you, and you start noticing and having it in its rightful place in your life. And you start feeling good in your body, and you start moving towards things because it feels good rather than you should be doing that to have this certain life. So I just want to share with you, if what I'm saying is resonating for you and you are ready to dive deeper and to resolve your emotional eating pattern, I'd love to invite you to check out more about the Emotional Eating Evolution Program. It's my step-by-step methodology and program with lots of support, guidance, meditations, and coaching to help you really move through this emotional eating pattern so that you can finally resolve it and feel good around food and in your body. And so if you are ready to really resolve your pattern, you can also book in an emotional eating assessment call. So on the call, we find out more about you, your goals, and how we can support you in the program. So I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't. And I look forward to sharing more with you. And I hope you have a great day.